So I was just wondering if you have any degree in religion or what's
No,
your
you know what I am?
qualifications?
I am like your prophet. I am an ummi. I'm unlettered.
So do you attend any church?
Yes, I'm attending churches locally. I mean, but the church I attend, you got to live in the state to go to the church I'm going to. And I don't want to ask you
Is
too
it
much of your information.
non-denominational?
Yeah, right now I'm going, and in time I'm going to return to the church of my parents, the Assyrian Church of the East. I already go there, I attend, but I want to make it official when I can take communion there, and I'm just waiting for the Lord to give me grace. So my goal is to go back to the church of my ancestors, the Assyrian Church of the East, which is much more close to the Roman Catholic Church, the Orthodox Church, and the Catholic Church than Protestant churches. That doesn't mean I won't go to Protestant churches. I still will go to Protestant churches because Trinitarian Protestants who love and worship the triune God and believe the Bible is God's perfect work are my brothers and sisters, and I still will fellowship and serve them. But the way I'm going back to the church of my parents, because that church, very similar. There are some differences, but they're minor, with the Catholic Church, Orthodox Church, Coptic Church. And the Catholic Church allows the Assyrian Church of the East to take communion in their church. So that's my goal. That's what I'm headed. But you're not Assyrian. You don't speak Aramaic. The Assyrian Church is not for you, unless you want to learn Assyrian, the language of heaven.
Okay. So with all these, different churches, then what, according to Christianity, what is the proper way to worship God then?
Well, you're asking me a beautiful question. I don't know how to answer that for you because, number one, I don't know. I know you said you're Albanian. I don't know where you're at, where you're located. So what church I'd recommend for you. Now, how do they worship? Well, early on, historically, and this is why you see Muslims worshiping similarly. When Muslims pray 5 times a day and they recite the Quran in Arabic, because Muhammad was modeling his form of worship in light of the churches at that time, because the churches at that time, they too would pray several times a day, and they too would chant their prayers quoting Bible verses. So the way Muslims worship was modeled after how Christians were worshiping at that time, because early on, at least from the 2nd century onwards, they would gather and they would recite verses of the Bible in their chanting as they chanted prayers to God as an act of worship around the Eucharist. And so what you find in Islam, this is why Muslims don't understand when they say, well, look, Muslims memorize the Quran. Let me tell you why you're able to memorize the Quran. Because the Quran is put to what we call rote. In other words, it's almost like a song, but not a song. And and you and I both know that our brain has been created and designed by God to be able to recite and take in and recall songs much more than simply reading a book, right?
But in Christianity, is music allowed?
Yes. In fact, the churches surrounding Muhammad, and even now, like the Orthodox Church, the Catholic Church, the Assyrian Church, and the Coptic Church, the Coptic, the Lutheran churches, they recite their prayers, they chant their prayers. It's liturgical worship, and that's where Muhammad got the idea of how to design his form of worship in light of these traditions.
I thought that was Sufi.
No, when you recite the Quran in the 5 daily prayers, when you go and say, Allahu Akbar, and you recite the surahs, right?
I'm talking about songs to worship God, like singing.
Yeah, you don't call it song, but let me be honest with you. When we hear the Quran chanted, that's music. You won't call it that because it's haram. But for someone who's not...
Music would be musical instruments.
No.
Not a voice.
Have you ever sang without musical instruments? Here, I'll sing a song to you. It's now or never, come hold me tight. Okay, am I singing?
Yes, but that's not music. That's a cappella.
Okay, even better. But you won't say I'm chanting a song. Are we going to get technical here? So back then, the time Muhammad, they had the word a cappella. Hey, that's not singing, Muhammad. That's a cappella.
No, acapella just means when you sing with no music.
Okay, but it's singing. That's my point. A cappella is a form of singing. That's the point.
I mean music. It's a form of music. You're saying it's music, but it's not.
Singing,
Music
songs,
is instrument.
chanting, reciting. Allah, Allah. Anyway, we're gonna have to agree to disagree. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying the proper way to worship God is in congregation?
Of course, congregational worship is very important according to the scripture, because Jesus came to found a church.
And men and women mixed together.
Yeah, I mean, well, when you say mix, historically, even among Christians, at the time Muhammad, before Muhammad, even now, you didn't have the free mixing of men and women. There was some type of structure. Couples would be together, but young men and one young woman would be separate, but worship side by side, separately. Not the woman in the back like you Muslims do, where you have the woman in the back and a curtain. But there is decorum, there is respect.
Well, they say that in the time of the messenger, there was no curtain.
Good.
So
why'd you introduce the curtain? Stuck for Allah, but the woman was still behind, right?
I don't know. Actually, that's a big debate at many mosques, if there should be a curtain or no curtain.
But at the time Muhammad, when they didn't have the curtain, the women were behind the men still.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask you a question though?
I don't know.
Okay, but if that's true, find out. And if it's true, just ask some questions. Say,
I know it's true that they didn't have the curtain. That's why many Muslims today, they say we don't need it.
Yeah, but they didn't pray side by side with men. Women were behind the men, right?
Yeah, they were in the back.
Okay, so here's my question. Why is it okay for women to be behind men and see them bow down and see their buttocks, but men can't do that for women? Why this racism and chauvinism?
I don't know.
You see that? You understand what I asked you?
I want you. They're mixed.
No, but wait, hold on. It's okay for the woman to look at a man bend down with his buttocks facing the ceiling, but it's not okay for a woman to be in front of the man. So women can be tempted, that's okay. But if men are tempted, that's haram. Haram alaik. Why the discrimination? Astaghfirullah. A'udhu billah.
Well, when you're praying, you're supposed to look down. That's the thing.
Yeah, but come on. You know, not everyone's going to go down at the same time. The man goes down. Oops, there are his tight jeans and his butt sticking up to the ceiling. Come on, sister. Come.
Well, they say when the man should pray, he has his awra, which are the things to
but your voice is an awra. So why are you talking to me? You know, in Islam, your voice is an awra?
Well, they say talking normally is not awra, because they said once Musa, he was on a journey and he asked these women for directions and they spoke to him normally.
Oh, but that's an exception to the norm, and he's a prophet.
I don't know if it's an exception or not. Okay. I'm not going to say.
How many Muslims say even your voice is awra? I know, I'm not saying you Muslims. You get
I know there are. They say, but even.
That's my point.
But they say if you're talking normally, it's not.
Okay, even if you talk normally, aren't there Muslim men? I'm not saying all, because in Islam, you have 2 Muslims, 50 opinions. Even speaking normally to someone who's not a muharram, that's an awra.
Mahram.
Yeah, and I call it muharram because I like that. Muharram is better. Muharram because I can make it rhyme. Say it again.
Mahram?
Yeah, mahram. But can we say muharram? Is it okay we say muharram?
I don't know.
But I like muharram. But okay, we'll say it the way you said it. Mahram. Mahram. That's how you like to say it, right? Okay, mahram. Even you speaking to someone who's not a mahram, is that lawful?
I don't know. I'm just saying I'm not a scholar.
Good, that's okay. Anyway, that's irrelevant. I don't want to talk about Islam.
My understanding was that it's okay to talk normally.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Islam because I don't want to discourage you from calling in and asking me. But yeah, and don't tell any Muslims that you're calling and asking me. Keep it a secret, all right? You don't have to lie. I'm not saying lie, but you don't have to tell everyone what your business is, right? Things you can keep for yourself between you and Allah. Right?
No, I don't. Okay.
I don't want you to get in trouble. I'm saying it for your sake.
Thank you.